A car accident can be a very upsetting experience. Getting your car repaired doesn't have to be.
The customer service was excellent, the very best.
Smooth, perfect service.
Call J&W Car Star and relax. We'll take it from here.
Welcome everyone to the March 14th, 2017 City Council meeting, and we call this meeting to order. Thank you for your patience. We had a birthday today, and so we had a little extra activity. I won't tell you whose birthday it was, but the cake was sure good. Oh, who's red?
As I look down the road, there's three of us in red.
Again, we welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Council President Menke will lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kelly. This is the time that we set aside and invite citizens for public comment, and we ask anyone who would like to speak to come before us on any topic other than topics that are already on the agenda, matters in litigation, quasi-judicial land use matters, or a matter that's scheduled for a public hearing at some future date. And so just to let you know that tonight, again, we have MCM and KLYC that are recording the proceedings. And if you could please put your cell phones on silence and so it doesn't disrupt our meeting. And if you do need to take a call or text to go out into the foyer to do that. So again, we would call on anyone that would like to make public comment. Mark, come up front.
Mark Davis, 652 Southeast Washington Street. I'd like to comment to the council about the Planning Commission appointment process last time. I don't know, I was just a little uncomfortable with the way things went. I've been watching the process for years, and it just seemed like, that last round was not quite as I don't know whether the word helpful is what I'd use, but it just seemed like, it was difficult for you guys sitting up there and for the people that were, up here in front of you. And I want to say I don't have any problem with the decision, and I'm really glad the council takes the time and takes it seriously, doesn't just, rubber stamp some, appointment and just say choose somebody. I mean, it's a tough process, but it just seems like some of the spontaneity has left the process. And when I think about, what you really need in someone on the Planning Commission, I think it's someone that needs to read a lot of information, think about it, and then sit up there like you folks are sitting up there and, ask some questions of people. And I wasn't seeing, that sort of information. I mean, I looked through what came in the packet. Possibly there was more information, but I looked through what was in the packet and I listened to the presentations. The mayor kind of made a joke about it being speed dating. And, it just really feel like people are up here just, reading something off and, off they went. There was no back and forth with the kind of stuff that I would think would be going on at the Planning Commission. So, I mean, the only thing I can suggest, obviously you had a lot of people interested, which is great. I mean, but maybe you could have some screening process with a couple of you that have served on the Planning Commission. If you've got 4 or 5 people, to get it down to 2 so the council can spend a little more time with those 2 people. I mean, that's probably about all I can think of that, was a way that, might make it better. But I just felt like, you're just kind of rushing everybody through. The other thing that felt a little strange to me was, running the incumbents, the people who are already in office back in here. I mean, it just seemed a little awkward to me, number one. I mean, I don't have a problem with term limits. If you want to say, you can be on 1 term, 2 terms, whatever you want to set, and then people have a clear expectation. These are people that, I mean, what they've done. I mean, I don't know whether you have any way of, rating people that serve on the Planning Commission, but clearly, they've been there some time and, where they stand. And if, it didn't strike me as that was too clear as to, this is, in my estimation, the second most important commission that you make appointments to. And I appreciate the time you're putting into it. But, if you really think the process is that great, then, maybe the first most important commission, which is McMinnville Water and Light, you should be dragging those people over here and making them interview for their jobs every time instead of just, rubber stamping them on. I mean, I'm not, don't let Ed or anybody else say I'm suggesting that, but, I think, that's okay. It's fine the way it is, but I just felt that was a little uncomfortable for those 2 people that had served the city for a long period of time, and all of a sudden they've got to come in and defend themselves, and then, they're sort of sent out the door. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And maybe you and I can get together and just talk a little further about it, because I'd be open to some of your thoughts that you talked about. I know we're in this process of trying to find that equal approach that with 11 candidates, it could have gone 2+ hours. And we've seen that display itself before. And so I'll give you a call. I'll have Melissa give you a call, and we can set some time, just get some input from you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I didn't hear everything you said, but...
JW?
I have to disagree with him, right? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry I didn't hear the rest of it. J.W. Milligan, 624 Northeast 2nd. I didn't hear everything Mark said, and I apologize. And I know I did watch the process on the Planning Commission. I did think having the contenders actually come back and defend themselves was actually a good idea, because I've been through the process before and people were just reappointed. So that was good. I don't know if I necessarily like the outcome. That was a different issue. But I do like the idea that you had the incumbents come up also, but it was a really long, painful process that took a lot of your time. So I don't know how to speed that up or anything of that nature. I do know how not to apply for the position, so. So I'm not sure what Mark said. I don't know if I added anything. Any questions?
Yeah, well, I think that Mark, if you're unhappy with the process but happy with the outcome, and JW, you're happy with the process but unhappy with the outcome, that somewhere in there we're doing something a little bit right.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Look at the clock. But in reality, we actually, have been looking at this entire system, and so there was some news a while ago that we were getting rid of the Citizens Advisory Committee, but the counterpoint to that was an empowerment of the Planning Commission and revamping the way that all of our commissions and committees are structured and bringing in citizens on a more regular basis to serve with every committee. And I think that the entire council wants this process to be one that is productive, fair to the citizens, fair to the applicants, gives people more of an opportunity to apply, but is also thorough. And that's something that we're striving for, and also that the department heads are striving for in especially, Mike and Heather and how they're approaching and creating this process for us. And so I think we're on a path of improvement.
Good, and I am impressed the Landmarks Commission is meeting.
Yeah.
So I am debating applying, but I don't know for something, but we'll see.
Well, we're taking committee work very seriously now. We're doing agendas. We're doing minutes, we're doing all of those types of things, and so I think we've heard that message. And as mayor, I've pulled myself off of every committee, but I'm going to as many committees as I can to get a sense of what's going on there. And I'm very impressed with the caliber of the committees, the discussions that are happening, and we're making some phenomenal progress in some very critical areas. So
Good.
Thanks for your input.
I'm glad to see the progress.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any others that would like to have a public comment? I'll ask one more time. Any individuals that would like to make public comment? Not, then we'll close this part of our agenda. Next, we have the consent agenda, and tonight that is made up of minutes from our January 24th, 2017 dinner and regular meeting. Ask if there are any councilors that would request to have the item removed from the consent agenda. If not, can I hear a motion?
I so move.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Menke and seconded by Councilor Garvin. All those in favor, please signify by an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay? And the consent agenda passes unanimously. At this point, we have new business, and we have a request from a Mr. Foley, who's not able to be with us tonight. So Jasper, and is it Abea? To come before us and present a opportunity to have a noise variance waiver for a July 8th, 2017 event.
Yes, sir.
Jasper,
As you
go
stated,
ahead.
my name is Jasper Beta, 459 Southwest Howard. I've applied for these at least 3 or 4 times in the time that I've lived in McMinnville. And typically what we do is a Saturday afternoon, we're just doing a community event. We roast weenies, magic show, a couple different groups that are playing. We haven't had any issues with our neighbors in the past. And really, most of our neighbors are closed at that time on a Saturday afternoon. We have a very good relationship with our neighbors. Most of their clients use our parking lot at no cost, and we've never stopped them or prohibited them from doing that. So there hasn't been an issue in the past, and we would have everything shut down no later than 9 o'clock, probably sooner. I think when John applied for the permit, he put 3 to 9:30. But we have that extra half hour for breaking down the equipment and that type of thing, so we do it in a safe environment.
Okay. And I didn't have our city manager Mr. Towery kind of give us a pre to this, if you have anything, Jeff, that you'd like to share with us. And
Only, Mayor, members of the council, only that the municipal code contemplates the possibility of the council granting a waiver in the event that the event would not unduly burden the community or the immediate neighbors. This is, as the gentleman indicated, a recurring process, and so a staff recommendation is that this is within the council's purview to grant should they see fit.
Okay, and it's just, I've been reminded that it's the same weekend as Turkey Rama, so lots of things going on that weekend also. So any questions from any member of the council?
Could we just hear a little more on the event itself? The event information wasn't in the packet.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, we were in a part of the Potter's House Christian Center. We're an evangelistic church, and several times a year we do different events. So that's just one of we have several youth groups that perform, and it's just a venue to be able to minister and share the gospel. So we've done, like I said, I myself have led at least 3 or 4 of those in the 3 years that I've lived in McMinnville, and there's never been an issue. A handful of officers have stopped by and actually just given us a salutation and kind of a thumbs up, and so we've always had a really good response, and to be honest, very little, if any, negative response or comments. So it's not a very big imprint. We're at the end of the downtown area, so there's not a lot of through traffic, and like I said, it's not really that big of any type of an imprint on the city as far as making detours and that type of thing.
Does that answer your questions, Remy?
Thank you.
Any other questions from any counselor?
Just to clarify, this is the outdoor concert that's in that parking lot across from the post office?
What's actually going to be, we're getting the permit to do it on the street.
Gotcha.
So it'll be very similar to some of the other events that are going down a few blocks, and I know there's going to be other bands that'll be playing there, have in the past, so just kind of join in the festivities.
What is the timing of the event? I'm not seeing it immediately.
I think Mr. Foley applied from 3 to 9:30.
3 to 9:30.
Yeah, he had planned on being here, but he had a last-minute issue come up, and he asked me if I could fill in, since I've typically done these in the past, and will actually take charge of this event going forward.
It's the same weekend as Turkey Rama?
It is the same weekend as Turkey Rama. So there will be events on a Friday night going on 2 to 3 blocks down the street towards City Center.
A lot of live music that
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, so with that said, there probably really wouldn't be any extra.
And having a history, so
I'm sorry, what portion of the street were you closing? Is it Galloway?
On Galloway, between 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
Third, okay.
so much like the others that would be closed from 2nd to 3rd.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the property, our church is right there on 2nd, and then we have the parking lot, and then we have what we call the Max Stage, which is the next block over on 3rd Street, that frontage property.
Any other questions? Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved by Councilperson Stassens and seconded by Council Member Rudin. All in favor may signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with a nay? And this request has, the waiver has been granted and passed unanimously, and so we're going to direct the city manager to write a letter confirming the council's actions to you.
Okay, well,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
We have a number of resolutions this evening. And so Resolution 2017-16 is a resolution approving task orders 4 and 5 to the personal services contract with Murray Smith and Associates Incorporated for the design of Oregon Route 99W at 2nd Street sign replacement and the 1st and 2nd Street pedestrian improvement transportation bond projects. And so, Director Bissett, we'll turn the time over you to Mike to update us.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I would refer you to the staff report, draft resolution, and associated task orders that are included in your packet. As the mayor noted, this is consideration of a resolution to amend the personal service contract with Murray Smith and Associates related to two bond measure projects, the 2nd Street Signal Upgrades Project and the 1st and 2nd Pedestrian Improvements Project. The 2nd Street Signals Project will be constructed this summer, and the plan is to construct the 1st and 2nd Street pedestrian improvements the summer of 2018. Task order number 4 has to do with the design of the pedestrian improvements portion of these projects. It will include adding additional design work related to the 3rd and Adams Street crossing between the downtown and in City Park. And it will include additional design review related to lighting and irrigation opportunities that have been requested by the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. The cost associated with that task order is about $46,265. Task order number 5 amends the design work related to the 2nd Street Signals Upgrade Project, which will take place between Cowles and Adams. We're proposing an amendment to complete additional design services required by ODOT as part of the project, and then we're adding construction engineering services to the project, both for inspection and project closeout. That task order amount is $175,589. The total for both task orders will amend Murray Smith and Associates contract by $221,854. So with that, I'd entertain any questions related to those task orders and recommend that the council adopt a resolution 2017-18.
So we will open it up for council discussion. Any questions for Mike? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
Second.
Okay. It has been moved by Councillor Rudin and seconded by Councillor Drapkin or Stossens? Stossens. And so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. This resolution passes unanimously. Let's go to resolution 2017-19, a resolution approving the acquisition of property from First Federal Savings and Loan for the Oregon 99W at 2nd Street Signal Replacement Bond, Transportation Bond Project. Mike again.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'll refer you to the staff report and resolution, as well as the property acquisition documents that are included in your packet. This resolution, too, is related to the 2nd Street Signal Upgrade Project. It was necessary to acquire property along First Federal's frontage to be able to complete the improvements. The city's consultant, Epic Land Solutions, Inc., has completed the appraisal and negotiation process with First Federal, and we're bringing to you this evening a resolution to complete the purchase of the property for $17,729 plus closing and escrow cost. So with that, I'd entertain any questions related to the resolution and recommend the council's approval.
We'll open up for discussion. Any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I so move.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Menke and seconded by Council Member Garvin. And so we're looking at resolution 2017-19. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by saying nay? This resolution passes unanimously. That takes us to resolution 2017-20, a resolution approving the dedication of a right-of-way from city properties for the Oregon 99W at 2nd Street replacement signal replacement, and it's a part of the transportation bond project. And so, Mike, update us on this, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Once again, refer you to the staff report resolution and deed documents that are contained in your packet. There are two pieces of city-owned property that need to be dedicated as right-of-way so that we can complete the Second Street Signals project. One is at the northwest corner of Second and Adams, which is adjacent to the library. And then the second is at the northeast corner of Second and Baker, which is the city-owned parking lot that currently has was formerly occupied by the Cornerstone coffee kiosk. So I would entertain any questions and recommend approval of Resolution 2017-20.
So we open council for council discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
So it's been moved by Councilperson Garvin and seconded by Council President Menke, and we're looking at Resolution 2017-20. All those in favor will indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. This resolution passes unanimously. Taking us to Resolution 2017-21, a resolution awarding the contract for the 2017 steel mill cured in place pipe, or the CIPP project, project 2017-1. Mike, if you'd update us.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Again, you have a brief staff report as well as a copy of the proposed resolution in your packet. My inclination is to talk about the Second Street project, but I guess I need to change gears. This is actually related to the city's wastewater inflow and infiltration reduction efforts contained in our wastewater master plan. We continue to chase leaky pipes in the sewer system. This particular project will rehab about 2,700 lineal feet of public sewer line that's located on the Cascade Steel Mills rolling mills site. Given the location of the line, it's not practical to dig and replace the pipe, so we will use a technique to line the pipe. That's the cured in place pipe technology. We opened bids on February 23rd, received 2 bids. The bid from Michaels Corporation in the amount of $99,770 was deemed the lowest responsible bid. And with that, I guess I would note that the contract work is expected to be completed prior to July 1st. And with that, I'd recommend adoption of Resolution 2017-21.
And so open for council discussion. Any discussion on this item?
So how far in obviously to the city property is where we're replacing the pipe, I understand that, but how far onto the property does that go? And then has there been any discussion with Cascade about their own, I know we can't compel them to do any pipe replacement, but has there been any discussion with them about that while this project is happening?
So it's sort of the nature of a wastewater system that's literally been developed over decades. In fact, well over 100 years, our sewer system has been developed. And so we have a number of publicly owned pipes that cross private properties within easements. And so this particular pipe is adjacent to the Southern Pacific Railroad right-of-way. It's wholly contained on the Cascade Steel Mill site within a public easement. But it is a publicly owned and maintained line that drains the properties in that area. And so we have that situation in a number of places within town, so where we're responsible for maintaining public assets that are in easements on private property. Over the years, over the last decade, we've worked really closely with the steel mill to identify their sewer connections to our system, particularly through our pretreatment program with them, and they're currently a certified non-discharger of industrial waste to our sewer system. So currently the only connections that Cascade Steel has to our sewer system are just their domestic waste connections for their locker room facilities, their restrooms, their break rooms, and things like that. And so over time we've cleaned up. have cleaned up much of those connections, and this is a chance for us to rehab the public asset that's on their property.
So much.
Thank you, Remy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion
So to move.
and a second.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilman Rudin and seconded by Wendy Stassens. And again, we're looking at Resolution 2017-21. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. And this resolution passes unanimously. This takes us to the last resolution that we have before us tonight, 2017-22, a resolution adopting the new rate schedule for municipal court fees and revoking resolution number 2015-31. And David, we turn the time over to you.
Thank you. So I will also refer you to my staff report, which was much briefer than Mike's. And just note that every couple, 2 or 3 years, the municipal court reviews its fee structure to determine whether fees are keeping pace with the cost of providing services, as well as achieving parity with circuit court fees that we seek to match up with. And we've identified several fees, the ones that are highlighted in yellow, that we are proposing revisions to. The fees that are not highlighted are proposed to stay the same. So it's roughly a little less than half of the fees we're proposing for revision. Most of those would be going upward, but not all of them. And so I'll note the ones in particular that we're proposing to reduce. We have a bench probation program for certain defendants that we believe there are the prosecutor and the judge agrees that there's opportunity for some rehabilitation and a chance to perform community service and maybe avoid jail time, where they'll be sentenced to a period of bench probation, which can go anywhere from 6 months to 24 months. And for some of those defendants, there's an opportunity for an early resolution if they are given community service in order to pay fines associated with the criminal conduct. This is after they've pled guilty or been found guilty. That they have an opportunity to resolve those things early. For defendants that are able to resolve those things in 6 months or less, they'll actually be paying less in terms of bench probation fees. But those that are in the system longer, there's a cost associated with the court maintaining those folks on probation. And so the $15 per month bench probation fee will account for those defendants that are on either their crimes were more serious or it takes them longer to perform the responsibilities that they have. And this will better allocate the costs among the defendants based on that. And then one other program that I would note, the Safe Driver, sorry, not the Safe Driver program, the Fix-It Ticket program. There's a revised schedule from what was in the packet as we reviewed those and identified that there are the Fix-It Ticket program is for individuals who maybe have an expired driver's license or expired tags on their vehicle, a broken light, tail light, or some other type of violation that is correctable, that they're given an opportunity to correct that prior to their day in court. And if they do that, they can get the ticket dismissed. And instead, they pay the fix-it fee. That fee was $60 regardless of how serious the infraction was. And what we're proposing is to actually peg that to 30% of what the minimum fine amount would be. So for some of your less serious Class D, the Class D violations, that fee will actually drop from $60 to $35. Class C violation, it will drop to $50. But for a Class B violation, it's up to $80. and a Class A violation is $105. So again, it's based on the severity of the infraction and what their fine would have been if they were not offered the opportunity to do the Fix-It program. So the goal in all of this, particularly on the traffic side, is to gain compliance with the laws to try to affect driver behavior. We've seen in McMinnville an increase over the years in traffic accidents and unsafe driving behavior. At the same time, we've, for budgetary and staffing reasons, seen less traffic enforcement out on the street. Compared to 10 years ago, we're writing about a third as many traffic citations as we were. 10 years ago, the city was writing in the range of 4,500 traffic citations a year. Last year, we were down around 1,500. And so I know, I don't want to speak for Matt, but I know that we're looking at that. Opportunities to put a little more focus on addressing driver behavior, and the changes to the Fix-It fees are a way of making sure that that's not happening in a punitive way where we've got the lesser class of violations and things that folks can fix. If Matt, if you want to add anything.
No, I think everybody here knows our philosophy. My philosophy is traffic contacts, is traffic safety and education. And end of the day, we want to reduce traffic crashes and injuries that result from those crashes, which is an economic hit to everybody that's in this room. Last year, unfortunately, we saw an uptick of 31% with the reported traffic crashes. So don't match the municipal court fines to what we're doing, but I can tell you that there's an emphasis that I've pushed to our staff, our officers on the road, is that traffic safety and education is an important component of their jobs, and it's an expected function of their job. So that's what I've got.
And then the one other fee I'd like to highlight is the trial fees, and we're looking at increasing the trial fees. Those can be very expensive in terms of staff time as well as costs where we have a jury trials coming in on traffic or misdemeanor cases. Those fees are only assessed if a defendant is found guilty through the trial process. If they avail themselves of a trial and they're found not guilty, they do not pay the trial fee. So that's only in the event that somebody is found guilty. And beyond that, I'll stand for questions.
Looks like you got one other reduction. Yeah. Court-ordered investigator fee per hour.
That's right. So
how does that drop? And
sure. So I appreciate you raising that. So we previously had a single maximum rate that could be assessed if somebody gets a court-appointed attorney that's under contract with the city, that we provide reduced rate legal services for indigent defendants that can't afford to retain their own attorney. That rate is set at $45 an hour. It's a significant discount off of what those attorneys charge for their retained work. For certain types of crimes, they may need to hire an investigator to interview witnesses. We did not previously have an hourly fee that we allowed for that. We simply had a maximum of $125. So here we're trying to peg that to an hourly rate, and then also set maximums depending on whether the matter is resolved prior to trial or if it involves a trial or a bench trial or a jury trial, recognizing that those things may take more time to accomplish.
So instead of the fixed $125, it could exceed that $75.
It'd either go 75 for if the maximum that would be allowed to be charged if the case is resolved before trial through a plea bargain or typically a plea bargain situation. Maximum for the bench trial is the 125, and then if it goes to a jury trial, we recognize that there may be additional costs involved, and so that's allowed up to 175. And then same thing on the court-appointed attorney's fees. You'll notice we set some different maximums. It was previously $450 for a bench trial maximum and $600 for a jury trial. We've included the maximum in there now if it's resolved before trial. Again, trying to recognize how many hours it will take for an attorney typically to represent a client, or a maximum amount of time it'll take an attorney to represent a client in those matters.
Any other discussion?
So those are not per hour numbers, that's a maximum.
That's a maximum, right. The per hour number is the $45 per hour for the attorney, or $25 for the investigator. And then I would also note that depending on the defendant's financial circumstances, that entire amount may be waived. The city may simply incur that cost, or they may be ordered to pay some or all of that reduced rate, depending on their financial circumstances. And that's a determination made by the judge at the time.
In summary, I saw that there were 49 fees on this schedule, 14 that increased and 4 that were reduced. So that gives you kind of an idea. Also would like to thank David, having part of his staff, Christine and Sean, come and present that at the dinner meeting. They did a great job, so thank them for taking the time. If no other discussion, I'm asking for a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
It's been approved by Councilor Rudin and seconded by Council President Menke. Again, we're looking at Resolution 2017-22. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, but signifying by saying nay. This resolution passes unanimously. We're to the point in our meeting tonight that we have advance advice and informational items. And so I'll open that up to reports from councilors on their committee and board assignments. And then I think I'll start with Alan, and then we'll just work our way down.
We have a Affordable Housing Task Force meeting tomorrow at the CDC at 10 o'clock. Those of us who include, I'm a private citizen on that committee. Remy represents the council, and Kelly represents the council on that. Very good discussions at every one of those meetings, and there's great progress being made, I think, and a lot of energy going into it. So that's going to happen tomorrow.
A very robust agenda tomorrow.
Yes,
it looks really good.
Favorite term, robust, yes.
Remy?
In addition to that, yesterday, we formed a subcommittee that's focused solely on homelessness. We had a meeting yesterday that included county mental health, Commissioner Mary Starrett, who represents Health and Human Services for the county, as well as a number of community stakeholders, if you will, representing broad spectrum from service providers to private citizens, and many others. We've put together kind of a steering committee with a unique model in which we are hoping to create a format in which we identify really micro populations within the homeless community and are able to approach and overcome homelessness for people that are experiencing it a little bit at a time. So it's new, it's exciting, it's also challenging. Certainly there's nobody there or here that is unaware that the subject of homelessness is so great and so broad. But this has been a long process and very thoughtful process of bringing people together to try to affect real change and bring real actionable items, some of which may come to council. Perhaps, if we're lucky, some which might be able to be carried out into other communities in Yamhill County. We're very happy to be working with the county especially and have formed that bond. And so it's very hopeful, and hopefully it will be very prolific and productive. Yeah, so that's going on.
Thank you, Remy. Kelly and I met with Dave Hogelberg this morning just on some bypass issues, and he gave a great compliment. He says there's many committees that he's asked to be a part of, and he says it's refreshing to go to a committee that is worth my time, and I can get engaged immediately. So that was his comments back to us this morning about his experience yesterday. So
well, thank you for sharing that. It was a lot. There's a lot of important people in that room, and it was
Absolutely.
it was a lot. So thank you. I definitely appreciate that. I hope we can. We will make it worth his time.
Absolutely.
Can I ask, do you feel like you have everybody on the committee that, like, is the committee complete, or are you still looking for more participants?
So we have reached out, there's a few positions which we still have invitations out for. We're working with an advisor at Linfield to either bring on a member of the Linfield student body or a faculty member there, but that person has not been identified. Similarly, we've reached out to the McMinnville School District because we would like to bring a representative from the youth community in there as well, and so I do believe that we'll have I believe Marcy Ingram is going to be advising a specific student to us, but we've reached out to the high school, the McMinnville High School, looking for a student that is somehow already engaged in this conversation in a broader spectrum. And there's one other
Just for Alan and Wendy's information, Elena has been asked to join. She's made application, and we've accepted her, but she's not come out yet.
She hasn't come out, but so she'll be representing the Latino community, but also has ties with Northwest Seniors. There's one other position that, it's embarrassing. We also really would like to invite a member of our community who's experiencing homelessness to sit on this community. And while we do have somebody on the committee that has formerly experienced homelessness, Elise Huey is reaching into the homeless community to find somebody that will sit on the committee that is currently experiencing homelessness. It's a pretty large steering committee, and I'd be happy to go in depth more. I don't want to take too much time, but we really are looking at identifying these subpopulations and working in smaller groups, and from that point reaching further out into the community as well. So this is not going to be you're not going to be looking through a microscope at a group of people that are trying to do something. This is our hope is to come up with ideas that address not only the things that we're all seeing and aware of, but other things that are coming up, things that have been brought to us by department heads. For instance, Chief Scales came up to us talking about our vehicular homeless a while ago, and that's one of the subpopulations that have been identified. And we really want to come up with ideas that can come forward that if they cannot solve homelessness, that they can make it better, they can offer stability and opportunities for people to hopefully bring themselves out of homelessness, or with assistance bring themselves out of homelessness. I think it's a very strong model that we're working with, so intimidating but strong.
Yeah.
Very intimidating and strong.
And if I may, just at this juncture of our discussion, remember that these committees and commissions work under our direction as a council. And so you're free anytime to drop in at any committee, just to see what's going on. Not that you'd want to be there because you've got other assignments, but I'll tell you, this is one that you drop in once, and I cannot not want to drop in again. It's that captivating in the directions we're going, and I'll tell you, it's kind of nice because you can walk away from those committees and not have to take an assignment on, but know what's going on. And so I open the door for all of you to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Remy.
We're second Monday of every month at 4 p.m. Here.
In the conference
Yeah.
area. Wendy?
In the conference room, but yeah.
Okay, so I'm on the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee as a citizen, and we did have a meeting since our last meeting. We basically looked at the grant program. We looked at a couple of grants and made decisions on those. And we also looked at the structure of the grant program, as well as a really detailed look at the loan program, which gives us some tools to be able to use urban renewal funds for appropriate capital improvement projects, to partner with private citizens that won't have projects that would fit it within would qualify based on the criteria. So it was excellent. Heather did an amazing job on the report. It was very detailed, and so we talked about that in detail, and then we looked at the new hotel. We had a great presentation for the Atticus, from the Atticus Hotel, the people who were putting that together, and they didn't ask anything of us. They just wanted us to be aware of where they are. So, and don't ask them about the restaurant.
They can't tell you who's running it.
They're not allowed to tell us. We tried.
But it will be a third party that's running the restaurant and a high-end.
Yeah.
It's going to be high-end.
Howard Johnson's or
I think Village Inn. No. No, I get in trouble.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. Adam?
The YCOM executive board meeting was actually canceled last week per Tim, and they sent out some preliminary budget information that I will happily forward on to you.
Thank you. Nothing from Kevin? Council President Mankey?
The Visit McMinnville group is going to be, once again, looking at their final goals and strategic plan and their final budget, too. So it'll be kind of they've been meeting for the last 2 months regarding this, and now they're pulling it all together and going to present it to the council or the committee itself. And just to go back to affordable housing just for a few minutes, I think Alan is going to be presenting tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to hearing his presentation on inclusionary zoning, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to hearing about how that's going to turn out. There's going to be some good topics. I would suggest dropping in if you're interested.
Thank you, Kelly. Department heads. Start with Matt.
Just quick updates. We're in the midst of the hiring. We've got one in training, 2 are doing our pre-academy stuff. 1 does get sworn in next week, and 2 are about ready to head into background. So when we've got all these positions filled, we'll bring them in, we'll have a party. So that. Lastly, I know I saw Doug walk in, and I was on Friday night, I was able to attend Unidos's 5th birthday anniversary celebration, and I just encourage all of us here. McMinnville's getting it right. I will tell you that when it's in relations to that. So I was at this dinner, and quite frankly, as I told Doug and Sally that night, that was probably one of the neatest dinners and celebrations and gatherings of just a cross-cultural. It was amazing. So if you have an opportunity to attend any of those types of functions, they're just really neat, and they will tug at you a little bit. So that's what I've got.
Thank you, Matt. Rich?
I have nothing to report this time.
Thank you. And Doug? Mike.
Poor Doug.
The goatee.
Where did that come from?
Just real quickly, brief update on several transportation bond projects for you. The 5th Street corridor project continues. The actual signal work is nearing completion, but the major component left on that project is the reconstruction of 5th Street between Evans and Lafayette. It's in pretty bad shape there near the courthouse. We need a good stretch of weather to be able to do that street reconstruction. We're still on track to complete the overall project by the end of May, so that work continues.
Mike, and when do you anticipate that the lights will be functional?
So that will sort of be an iterative, interesting discussion with ODOT. I think the signal work itself will be done in advance of the street reconstruction, and the real logistical question becomes, do we want to turn those lights on and direct people right into the middle of a street reconstruction? And so we'll work on the logistics of that and try to pick the appropriate time to activate traffic signals. As we get closer to the activation date, we'll get some press releases out and get some advance warning out to folks that the traffic control in the area is changing. So.
Well, I'm one that has started using 5th Street as my going east and west, and I'm just amazed with how nice those lights look. It stands out, and our cement work at the corners that allow pedestrians a shorter distance to cross. Once we get that paved, that is going to be a real gem.
I agree.
And again, for me, you've talked about that becoming our arterial, and that's what I'm using now, and I'm enjoying it immensely.
Thank you. As you know, we've awarded the construction contract for the Alpine Avenue project, and that work's actually set to start next Monday. So we've had construction notices out to the adjacent businesses and neighbors, and you should see a reminder and a press release, I think, tomorrow regarding the groundbreaking ceremony that we'll have late morning on Monday for the councilors and the members of MURAC, and hopefully the press will join us for that. So stay tuned on that. We actually advertise for bids tomorrow for our 2017 summer overlay projects, which are part of the transportation bond. We have a number of areas within the city that will be repaving streets. That's the third of 4 years of repaving that was part of the bond measure. So that work's advancing.
And what's the dollar amount that is going to be spent this year on that?
It's about 1.3 million.
So it's almost 2 times more than we typically would do.
At least, yeah. Prior to the bond measure, we were doing between $300,000 and $500,000 worth of overlay work a year. So depending on if you're picking the lower or the high end of that number, we get a different math answer. But.
And will that be our Surrey that we've done, or will it be a mixture of that plus total overlay?
It's a grind of the old asphalt and an application of a new surface, and so it's an overlay project. We will do a summer slurry seal project. Say that fast 3 times. That's in the design process now, but that's separate from the bond measure work. It's actual state highway funds that we use for that work. So.
And then one other question: with petroleum costs lower, do you anticipate the cost of some of the components of the asphalting to be cheaper this year?
Well, unfortunately, the cost of concrete has risen, and so each of those projects, we rebuild the corners to comply with ADA rules, and so it's a balancing act. I don't expect that we'll see significant lower prices because of the combination of those factors. So,
thank you.
Continuing, you had several resolutions this evening regarding the Second Street Signals project. We actually advertised for bids this Friday, and we'll have hopefully a bid award for you late April, your second meeting in April, with targeting construction starting on that project around the 1st of June, corresponding with the completion of the 5th Street project. We did send out a construction project notice to everyone today on that project, and we'll continue to do outreach as we move to construction on that project. But that'll be a 6-month construction project that has some significant impacts in this part of town. So we'll appreciate the public's patience with that work. We continue to work on the Ford Street sidewalk project with the expectation we'll be bidding that this spring and constructing it this summer. We were essentially complete with the design and sent out our notices to franchise utilities, and there's a high-pressure gas line that's directly in conflict with some of our planned work. We've negotiated with the gas company and come up with a solution to minimize disruption to the gas line, but it means a change to project plans. The gas company is going to pay for that redesign cost, and we'll have a task order related to that in front of you at a later date. But so it's causing a small delay in the project, but we're still anticipating a bid this spring and construction this summer for that long-awaited pedestrian improvement project. And then lastly, I know the mayor asked at the dinner meeting regarding the Hill Road project. We're actually nearing completion of design of that and continue to work on property acquisition with the intention of bidding that project this spring and being under construction during this summer and continuing construction into next calendar year. So that'll be a significant corridor project that you'll see some more public outreach and press releases as we finish the design and start into the actual construction process related to that work. So lots of work on transportation bond stuff, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mike. We can see a lot of the planning that's going into a busy summer with your department. Melissa? David?
I'll note just one thing. And I know the court staff provided you a little bit of a briefing on this at the dinner meeting, but for those in the audience that may owe municipal court fines and fees, we are undertaking a clean slate program that's kicking off April 1, no joke, going until September 30th. If you have, what?
We're having fun.
If you have outstanding municipal court fines or fees that are more than 2 years old, we'll take 50 cents on the dollar to wipe the slate clean for you. And after the 6-month program is up, you may start getting calls from a collection agency if you haven't worked out a deal with us. So I just want to make that note to everybody. If you know someone, we'll be getting some press out on that here in the next couple of weeks. But it's part of our attempt to reduce some of the backlog of accounts receivable and work with the citizens to try to get some of these lingering debts out from over their head. So that's it.
Thank you, David.
Mr. Mayor, I had a
Yeah.
couple of things that I forgot. One is that on Thursday, Heather and the chair of the Urban Renewal are going to have a special tour of the Huber building in the Alpine. And so it's at 2:30, isn't it? 2:30?
Yeah, 2:30 through 4:30, where they're going to meet and have discussion, and then they'll walk the Hubbard Shoe building.
Right.
And anyone interested would need to just let MIDP know, I think, and they'll put you on the list.
Yeah. So that should be interesting. It's open to anyone who wants to go learn more. And then the landscape committee is meeting tomorrow. I forgot about that. So,
Thank you.
Thursday.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So 1 month ago tonight, the council honored me with the appointment as your new city manager. This isn't going to be a monthly habit. But I just
2, 3, 4.
Yeah. I just wanted to take the chance to thank you again for your confidence in me. I can tell you that the first month has been an exciting whirlwind. The chance to get to know people in the organization, in the community, has been really gratifying. There are lots of folks interested in meeting me, and lots of them have good advice. And even a little bit of direction for me, so I appreciate that. Doris and the kids have joined me here, although we're still sort of buying and selling houses, that sort of thing, but the kids started their respective schools last week and deemed it a good experience, not necessarily great, but good anyway. And then I'll just let you know that I'll be out of town next Thursday and Friday on professional association business. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. At this point, we are going to move into an executive session under ORS 192.662 2D to conduct deliberations with persons designated to carry out labor negotiations. So what we will be doing is the council will be moving into the executive session in the conference room, and we will deliberate with individuals to do those labor negotiations. So representatives from the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience may not attend. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in an executive session. At the end of that executive session, we will return to open session here in council. So we may be out for maybe 5-10 minutes, whatever it would take, and then we'll be back and we will continue with our council meeting. So we'll move into executive session at this point.
A car accident can be a very upsetting experience. Getting your car repaired doesn't have to be.
The customer service was excellent, the very best.
Smooth, perfect service.
Call J&W CarStar and relax. We'll take it from here. A car accident can be a very upsetting experience. Getting your car repaired doesn't have to be.
The customer service was excellent, the very best.
Smooth, perfect service.
Call J&W Car Star and relax. We'll take it from here. A car accident can be a very upsetting experience. Getting your car repaired doesn't have to be.
The customer service was excellent, the very best.
Smooth, perfect service.
Call J&W Car Star and relax. We'll take it from here.
Melissa, are you all set? To my right, to my left? Okay, we're back into our regular session of council meeting tonight, and I have before us a resolution number 2017-23, a resolution ratifying the collective bargaining agreement between the City of McMinnville and the International Associations of Firefighters, Local 3099, IAFF, for wages only for the period starting July 1st, 2017. We've had discussion in our executive session, and so I'll just open it up and for any council discussion at this point. Hearing none. Again, we have resolution 2017-23 in front of us. I ask for a motion to approve.
I so move.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Mankey and seconded by Council Member Garvin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by saying nay. And this resolution is passed unanimously. And that takes us to the conclusion of our council meeting this evening. Thank you for your participation.